Hello. You know, I was just thinking how strange it is that years ago when I was fishing around for a title for my YouTube channel, and I didn't want one with lots of numbers after it, and everything I tried seemed like it was already taken. And so there, in pure frustration, I typed in from my favorite Sufi saying, I typed in the words, "These eyes, God." And sure enough, it took. And that's pretty darn funny how long ago that was. And here I am today playing with putting eyes on the various creatures and using them to speak. Strange the way things happen. Some things, I guess, are just meant to be. So, uh, people look out at the world now and they see a mess. They see chaos and pain and fear, and they see whatever they see. And to me, it's all just an angle of vision thing. It's also paradise. It's also beautiful. It's also absolutely divine. But the mind will never see it that way, as in not ever. The mind is incapable. This is vision from heart. And so, for those who are in mind, I'm not speaking here. But for those who are in heart, um, it's a very real, you have a very real chance of so completely shifting your vision that or your reality shifts. Um, Again, last night I was so taken with joy, with the real physical flow of, where are the words? We put labels on the divine attributes such as love and joy and peace and truth. And yet these words are so puny. They are so inadequate to the task we set them to. But that doesn't really matter, because if you're in heart, you can still hear and you can still see, only you have so much more depth to you because you're in that place within you where you meet up with the divine. And it's got nothing to do with the creation. I mean, sure, you're multidimensional in there too, but that's just another limited way of looking at this. That doesn't cut it either, you know. It's not got to do with chakras and dimensions and or even flow of chi or kundalini energy. These are nice and they are something of what's going on, but they're not at the heart of it. And you are, and you can find yourself there. And it's truly divine. How I wish I could share and I could magnetize you to your own new angle of vision. And so in my tags, I always put the phrase flexible perspective. That's what I'm sharing here. Really different perspectives on things. And all one has to do is be open to possibilities. And then you find the flexible perspectives are within you as well. Everything is one. If everything is one, then whatever you're looking at, you are that. Sometimes I get kind of mixed up when I'm gazing on the sun and I wonder who and what's gazing on who and what, because it's all contained, it's all self-contained. All of cosmos is contained in a grain of sand or salt or an atom or you in your heart. We're like atoms in the body of God, all of us, I guess. And God, to me, is prime creator, is what I call it. Unfortunately, the word God has really been abused. I'm being shown more and more. It's a real shock when it comes to you that the God of the Bible is an ET. Only after it's come to you, then it makes a certain amount of sense. Okay, 2 phone calls and a misbehaving cat. How interesting. Maybe there's something being said here that something objects to. Well, I could care less, you know? I could care less. So, when you see that the Divine One isn't the one speaking and acting in the Bible, it's a major shock. But once that settles down, and see, you've got a direct connect to God anyway, so you can look at anything and you're fine. There's nothing that you can look on that can destroy you. You are that. And so there's a tremendous, I mean, you don't look at it as courage. Others might look at it as courage. And so you can look on these things once you accept your own divinity and work on pulling up some of the worthlessness and getting rid of it, the sense of guilt, the sense of being a sinner, and all that kind of stuff that's been put on us via various kinds of programming. As we get rid of that, there are some major changes that happen, and then you can begin to look at things like this. So, for those who haven't already clicked away, to continue, when you see that those are ETs playing God, it's shocking. But I'm being taught and shown more and more. I mean, God is. Just because they aren't God doesn't mean there is no God. That's ridiculous. You know, those are the warring ETs. The whole Satan and Lucifer thing. This is not absolute divinity. This did not happen way up on high where prime creator. You know, you can't really say anything about the ultimate God. It's beyond comprehension. But anyway, it is. And these are beings playing at being God. And who knows, folks, maybe we've been there and done that ourselves. A lot of us are very old souls or beings, whatever we are, and we've been around a while. So not to throw rocks or put anyone or anything down. It's just a matter of waking up. And when we're in love with truth, we don't really care what it is. If it's truth, it's good enough. And if it's not truth, then, you know, it's garbage. It loses your interest. It can't hold you anymore once you've seen through it and seen that it isn't true. Now, it's truly an angle of vision that we're taking. I've written to Mellen-Thomas Benedict. I don't know if you've heard of him. I did one of my journals where I mentioned him, and I think gave a link to an interview that he gave. He is one who had maybe one of the most extensive NDEs, but he took it a step farther that I haven't heard anybody else do, and that is that he goes into the light daily. It wasn't just a one-time thing for him. It's a part of his everyday life. And he's been taught and shown things and educated in ways that are truly amazing and transcendent. He was able, by not having a particular religion, he didn't go into one of the various heavens that are created by and for those who hold certain beliefs. The first one of those that I noticed was the Buddhist heavens or nirvanas or whatever they call it, their afterlife is distinctly different than everyone else's, it seems. And it's very real. It's something I'm sure that is experienced just as they say, or much as they say it is. But the way I see these heavens, I see them as creations, mind created things. And they're very real. This is a creation. This is a mind created thing here. Uh, is it the mind of God? Is it that we've all got the mind of God in us? Maybe that's the case. Now, the mind of God isn't the brain, and it isn't the 3D mind. That just gets in the way. And yet, deeper underneath there, it's like there's love and then there's love, lowercase and then capital L. One is the divine attribute, and one is the poor, measly human reflection, which in its own way can be very great. It just can't compare to the divine, do you see? So it doesn't mean that the one doesn't exist just because the other one is so phenomenal and so great. They both have an existence. Well, these heavens have an existence. I learned further about this from Nisargadatta. He blew me away when he said you can transcend God. And so many other things he was saying were so wonderful, and I just knew them to be true. So I just skipped over that. I didn't understand it. I didn't think about it. I just set it aside and marched ahead. Well, and then Papa G says the same thing. You can not only transcend mind, you can transcend God. He talks about the gods. He was one that actually met and interacted with the gods. They would physically manifest and play with him, interact with him. As a boy, he played with Krishna all the time. And these beings are real. They too, that's the Hindu heaven, okay? They have their own particular heaven, peopled with the beings that have perfected themselves sufficiently to abide there. And yet, through Nisargadatta and through Papaji, I learned that those beings are not completely and totally perfected. Those beings will come and gather around one on earth who is self-realized, who is awakened for darshan, for satsang, to be in that one's presence. They have not achieved any kind of total perfection. They have achieved a level of perfection, and it's a divine level. But that doesn't make them prime creator. And I'm comfortable saying that makes them little g gods. We are little g gods too. We have the power of creation within us. We're being used like livestock. We're being milked to create this world the way it is. All of the programming is to keep everything in chaos and bloodshed and anger and fear and separation and all the rest of it. We don't realize how we're being used to create that outcome. It's our power of creation being manipulated via the programming that produces this. And that is exactly how we have the ability to wake up and change literally everything around. Okay? So there's the Hindu heaven. There's also a Christian heaven. You'll find people when they go into an NDE, if they have a very strong belief system, that is going to color their experience tremendously. And they don't realize that they're in process of creating that. They're not open. They're closed because they believe they know how things are. This is how one can experience supposed hell. Okay? It's self-created. It's our own darkness we experience when we're doing that, very much colored and arranged by our belief system. Well, Mellen-Thomas didn't have a belief system like that, so he was able to stand back and look at and see the various kinds of heavens. He was taken through them to experience them. And I've written to ask his permission to share. He wrote out his NDE, and what I'll do is I'll put a link here to where you can read it for yourself, so you don't have to wait for me to get permission to record it, which he may or may not give. I have no idea. I wrote to him once about something and didn't get an answer, so we'll see. Anyway, I love his view of things. See, if you're empty, the closer you can get to being empty, the closer you'll get to experiencing reality. Otherwise, you are a divine being and you are in process of creating. So if we would just stop creating and just start looking, observing, surrendering and being empty to the best of our ability, that's when we've got the best shot at being real and at seeing what is. Good day.